Welcome to our Sound for Video session. It is the 27th of May, 2017. It's a question and answer session, and we have a couple of questions. First is from Mark Latani. He said the following: Hi Curtis, further to our discussion, we've been talking about asymmetric waveforms a little bit, and so this is what he's referring to here. I conducted a little test. He recorded the same text twice with his Tascam recorder and TG2 and a Sennheiser E35, so on and so forth, some with the low-cut filter on, some with it off. And then he looked for asymmetry. It is more noticeable with the low cut off. The places where it's most apparent is when the reader pronounces the letter S. I processed the files in Izotope to correct the phase problem. It worked fine, but I really didn't notice the difference in my headset. Let me just address that first of all. You won't hear a difference. It doesn't make a difference in terms of the timbre of the audio as far as I can tell. And I think that's kind of the really great benefit of using that adaptive phase rotation in Izotope RX. So yes, that's completely and 100% expected. You will not hear a difference. And then you went on. But as you mentioned in your video, you get noticeably more headroom after phase correction. That is true. That's really the reason to do adaptive phase rotation if you need it. But not all audio clips need it. And in fact, I find that most women's voices, recordings of women's voices, don't generally need it. Most often when I see asymmetry, it's men's voices. And it's not all men's voices, just some men's voices. And then you sent me a bunch of files. So what you're saying here is, so phase correction works, but to do so means buying Izotope and Nectar for about $800 Canadian on sale. Yeah, I'm not necessarily advocating that. Let's just take a look here. I'm gonna just show the waveform for one of your files here. Again, female voice, just talking dialogue here. And to be honest, this is not particularly asymmetric. Yes, for example, this one reaches down to minus 3.5 on the bottom end, and on the top end it's at minus 6. But most of them are actually pretty symmetric here. I wouldn't worry about this. This would be one where I wouldn't even bother with phase rotation. Looking at another one here, same here. This is pretty symmetric as well. So you're not really gaining anything in terms of additional headroom with this one at any sort of substantive level, so I would not even worry about it in this case. Now, where I do worry about it is, here's an example of a men's voice. In particular, this is my voice. You can see it's consistently asymmetric with the waveforms having a larger amplitude on the top versus on the bottom. This is where I would use some sort of phase rotation. And again, it's mainly going to be in men's voices. Unfortunately, you're referring to the post-processing course where I do show how to do it in Audition sort of manually. This is a case where I would go ahead and do that. On the waves or the waveforms or the audio recordings you sent me, I wouldn't bother. It's not, I don't think you're going to gain anything. So I would say put your mind at ease. Don't worry about doing phase rotation or changing the phase in any sort of way on mono dialogue recordings, unless you have a situation like this where you are going to need to kind of bump these down on the top and grow them on the bottom so that you have a little bit more headroom to work with when you're loudness normalizing. Hope that's helpful for you. You had another question about the Rode. You said RX5, but I think you mean NT5. If I'm mistaken on that, please let me know. And you asked why they market it as a drum overhead mic when it can also work well as a dialogue mic. It was really designed as an instrument mic, to be 100% honest, but I just found that it worked pretty decently for dialogue. And is it the best dialogue mic out there? No, it's not. Is it pretty good? Yeah, for $219 US, it's pretty good, and definitely one that I've got in my kit. And do I pull it out very often? No, I've got a lot of other really good mics, so I don't generally pull this one out all that often. But if I'm miking a larger group, where every individual has their own mic, this might be one that I would pull out in that case and use for it. It just, I guess that's my impression. Very few people use this as a dialogue mic, just for your information. I think people look at it as an instrument mic of various sorts, and to a large extent, people use it as drum overhead mics. Here they actually appear to have it miking a snare drum. So it's a pretty versatile one. You can use it for lots of different things. So thanks for that question, Mark. And then we have one other question from Kara Western. It's not Western, it's Westerman. My spell check got the better of me. Sorry about that, Kara. You can see it's trying to fix it again. Okay, question. I usually run my WAV files through Audacity high-pass filter to get rid of AC noise, etc. I have an audio recording I've done of a conversation in a car that needs tweaking. I don't need to make it sound like we're not in a car. I like that you know where we are, but the road noise is so loud that it is interfering. It is the sounds of other cars and of the car we are in. What settings should I put on the high-pass filter or others? Can you suggest another way, Kara? This is where I would use noise reduction. So high-pass filter can help a little bit to get rid of the really low frequency rumble, but if you push it up too high in terms of its frequency, its center frequency, you'll start to cut into the voices and it will cut out a lot of the bass, so it will start to sound a little bit odd after a bit. What I would typically do in these situations is I would apply a high-pass filter, and I'd probably set it somewhere around 80 hertz, but you can sweep it up and down to see the effect it has. So while you're playing the audio, sweep it up and down and see what effect it has in terms of removing the road noise versus cutting into the dialogue. So kind of tweak that, use your ears to make that decision. Don't go by the numbers, just use your ears to make that decision, whatever sounds best. And then after that, I would also do some noise reduction. So I'll put a link to a video where we showed how to do that in Audacity. It looks like you're using Audacity, so I've got a video on how to do that in Audacity, and we'll send that your way, and hopefully that will help a little bit. Now, if you have discontinuous, there's continuous noise, or what I would characterize as continuous noise, and there's also noise that's discontinuous. Noise reduction is going to work with continuous noise, something that's kind of almost constantly there, and a lot of that's going to be road noise in a car. There are going to be other cars passing and horns honking potentially. I don't know what's exactly in this recording, but those are not going to be as well removed by noise reduction necessarily, but those are the two places I'd start. Use the high-pass filter, sweep it until you find a place that sounds best. It's not going to be perfect. Then follow the instructions here that we show in our Audacity noise reduction video. See where that gets you, and let's take it from there. So those are the two questions we had this week. It's kind of a light week. It was a busy week for me. I apologize. It took me a while to get the episode out on the main channel here. Not the Curtis Judd audio channel, but the Curtis Judd channel over on YouTube. I did get the Sound Devices Mix Pre 6 this week, and I've had it for about 48 hours. I did use it for a voiceover job that I had at work, and it is a fantastic piece of gear. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good. And if you're interested, I'll go ahead and put a link for this, for my initial impressions review of it. It's not a review, sorry, it's initial impressions. It's a pretty in-depth. I ended up talking a whole lot longer than I expected. I think it's about 35 minutes long. So if that's really of interest to you, you're welcome to go look at that. And if you just want to hear what it sounds like, that's at the start of the video, so you can just watch the first part there and go do something else after that. So hope everyone's having a great time making good recordings, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care, everyone.